Welcome to the Tim Castle Show, where I sit down with courageous individuals doing inspirational things around the world. Whether it's AI, crypto, mindset, leadership, negotiation and sales, I've got you covered. I sit at that nexus of disruption and change. I'm loving every second of this. I really do believe this is the most abundant time that we've lived in. And if we harness what's going on correctly, we can build businesses that are going to transform our future and your lives. So come with me on this journey, meet the people. I pull back the curtain, I find out who they really are. I started off building this podcast for my sons as something they could look back on later in life and see the conversations that their dad had with people that he respected and admired, but most of all, get the lessons. And now I'm sharing those lessons with you and the reasons that people have done things, the ambition, the passion, and the hardship and their vulnerabilities. And I actually really enjoy it. This is one of the most special times as I get to sit down with people that I really would love to chat to and ask them the questions that are burning in my mind. If you are the same as me and you're pushing the limits and the edges of what you do, please like and subscribe to the show. It helps me tremendously to get new guests on the show and expand that reach so we can help more people together.
So I think that's a major issue for not only salespeople, but society is if we don't understand that AI is a helper and it replaces our brain, at what point does our brain atrophy so much that we can no longer think critically and really be the human beings, the creative human beings that we were meant to be? Mm-hmm. And when you see something that's cool, pay attention to it because it's probably God, the universe, whatever, a higher spirit you worship, is probably something talking to you, telling you that you need to pay attention to that and do something with it.
Like, what do you think could go wrong with this from a salesperson's perspective?
So I think personally that I'm going to answer the question on the what can go wrong from the salesperson standpoint, because there's a lot that can go wrong, and I'm going to give you a brilliant example of it that just happened to me last week. That when we do engage, right, when we call you, you engage back, or when you need something, you seek us out first.
I think that's really important. Like you're basically building leverage into both sides of the equation.
Yes.
Like this is super cool, Jeb. Like this is, as you say, pipe is life, and that is the number one problem, right? And you're telling us how to. I feel like this is basically a masterclass in like how to do the rare things. On the show today, I've got a very special guest, Jeb Blount. He is a sales expert. If you think of sales and non-fiction books and sales training, he's someone that will come to mind as probably the number one person in the space. Now, he's written over 17 books over the last 18 years. One book a year. I mean, imagine that. He's at the coalface, training organizations and businesses. I've got some of his books here. The AI Edge, Fanatical Prospecting, Sales EQ, and his new one, the LinkedIn Edge. We go into all of this and more. And I just think if you're in sales, business development, if you're looking to expand your career or get into any of this, or you're a business owner, you just want to understand what are the fundamental aspects of sales? How can I increase my growth? This is going to be an episode that you love. I sure did. I had an absolute ball with Jeb. So without further ado, Jeb, take it away.
How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing great, thanks, Jeb. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you for having me on your show. Thanks for putting my books behind you. That's awesome.
Yeah, we got it. No, thank you for coming on. I really, truly appreciate it.
Well, I'm just as grateful.
How's your morning going for you so far?
So far, so good. So far, so good.
Got the coffee there. Is that a sales ready mug?
Yep. Can you you give me a couple more so I can just I just want to be like Tim over here. Look, I got a brand new book out. He's got books over there, so I got this actually might be good enough. It'll plop up against the microphone. I'm not going to be moving it around. Brand new book. It's not even released yet. I just got the copy yesterday.
It's out really soon, right? It's out Q4.
Yeah, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks.
Awesome. It's an exciting feeling, isn't it? When you,
It is. It's the, I love turning a book in. I really like editing. I mean, I'm a big fan of this book was 65,000 words when I finished it.
Yeah.
And then, the editors or the publishers, oh my God, 65,000 words, that's too much. I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll take 10,000 words out of this thing, just in a day. So that's my favorite thing. And then you get the book. That's awesome. But then comes the looming dread that at some point you have to actually sell this book.
Oh my goodness.
Or you know, your publisher is going to be very unhappy with the advance they wrote you to write the book. So now I'm in the mode of, oh my God, I got to sell this book.
You've got to push it out. No, I totally get it. Yeah. It's like this second phase of authorship that you at the beginning didn't realize was actually a whole other job. Like,
True.
but you're prolific. You've got like 15, 16 now. How many?
That's 17 right there.
It's 17. Yep. My
yeah,
goodness.
17, and I wrote 18 over the summer, so that'll be out in March.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and this is a fun. The 18th book's actually fun. It's a 90 days to level up your sales skills, and it's every day there's like a 200 to 300 word lesson and an exercise that goes with it. And I built a multimedia learning path that goes along with it. So, cool. You know, so I might like watch this 3-minute video on blah, and so I'm really excited about it. It was a project my publisher asked me to work on, and after I got into it, it like really forced you to think about, okay, if you were going to help somebody fix something in 90 days, what would it look like? And how could you do it in a way that every morning they could take 10, 15 minutes, like a devotional, and just focus on that one thing without it, you know, disrupting the rest of their day. So it was a fun project. Took me a couple hundred hours to put it together, but it was great.
It's like each piece is the highest ROI for that day. If they could just do that one thing, like they're gonna nail it. And if it gets you to the next stage, that's all.
And then weaving it together across, you know, some disciplines so that it kind of all works together. The brilliant part about it, like as a writer, like the thing that was so challenging was, how do you take a concept that normally like you would talk about for an hour, for example, and dial it into a 5-minute read, like really, you know, being really being judicious with your words and thinking about how do you make the greatest impact, because the words themselves weren't so hard. It was it was dialing it into something that was super impactful, very short, and then exercises that would go with it. And that's how the multimedia part got born, because it was like, there's, you know, at some point there's a limit to what you can teach someone in 250 words. So is there a way to give them a 3-minute video, or give them some resources outside of that if they want more, they can go see?
Yeah, it's almost multimodal to like, because obviously everyone learns in different ways, right? And different days are different, so you've got different pathways to learning. Okay, I'll stick this one out. I want to listen to something today. Yeah, that's awesome. So that's out in March.
In March, in March.
Congratulations.
So, yeah. I mean, it's something you could work on and negotiate, like 90 days to level up your negotiation skills, you know, just
it's a good
little things you can do every day. It's
a
fun
project. You might have started something there. That's like, I've seen how the Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday's book, I'm not sure if you read it, but he did a Daily Stoic book, and that was 366, and that thing took off. And I think, having a quarterly, like a 90-day sprint, like that someone in sales, like this is just a mantra that they can hand down.
Tom Peters did one. It was 365 days. He did a 365-day book, Peters did, on business. And it was really good. It was the same idea, but I've always just been so busy writing long form books that I've always had it back in my pocket. But when when my publisher said, "Hey, we want you to do this," let's, I was like, okay, well, I'll see if I can carve some time out over the summer and just knock it out. And it was a great project, and it made me get better acquainted with my material. I've written, well over 1 million words, and there's a point where people go, "Hey, tell me about blah 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 in fanatical prospecting," and I'm like, I don't know. I wrote this book, 10 years ago. I read it and I'd go through it, but it made me like go back and start thinking about, because I didn't like go create a bunch of new material. I just took the stuff that I'd already done and poured it into, how do you put this together in 90 days?
Right. It was scattered across 17 books, and you're just pulling the best bits to go, here's your plan from
exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I really look up to that. My son's given me a challenge of writing 10 books, so I'm halfway through that right now. But
I liked it. Very good.
You're like, I'm 40 yesterday. So
you've written 5 books before 40. That's pretty good, because I'd only written 1 book when I was 40.
Oh, here we go. So I can look up to you and go, right, come on, like we've got to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. So because my goal was, when I started writing my first book when I was 39. Left the corporate world, and my goal was 5 books in 5 years, which I hit.
Right. Nice.
So yeah, so you look back, that was in 2007. I published my first book. So 225, what is that? 10, 17 years, something like that, 18 years. So I've almost a book a year since then.
Yeah.
And it's a curse and a gift. Like the curse is now you feel all this pressure that I got to be writing all the time, and you're like addicted to getting the next book out. And then the curse is you feel like you got to write all the time, and you're addicted to getting the next book out. So it puts a strain on everything else in your life to write these books. But so 10 books is a great challenge. And the thing is that, and I would just encourage you to keep going, because almost nobody does it. Like there is, I mean, you think about the people that have more than 3 books in the world that are published, legitimate published book. I'm not talking about, I went to AI and threw some stuff in and took it to, to Amazon, whatever that is. I'm talking about legit books.
Yeah.
It's like 0.1%. Like there's almost nobody. It is so incredibly rare, especially in business, that you have authors that have more than 3 books. Almost nobody has more than 1. A lot of people will write 2. Some people will write 3. Almost nobody writes more than 3.
Getting past that. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you think about 5 and 10. If you move into 10, you're in the rarefied of the rarefied air. Like nobody does that. And like you can look at a guy like Brian Tracy, who he wrote 70 books, but I would argue, and I love Brian Tracy, and I'd argue that 60 of those books were the same book with different titles on them that he just kept.
Sure. Yeah.
They weren't like, he wasn't like, it wasn't like, AI Edge is a completely different book than Fanatical Prospecting. It wasn't like he did that. So I think it's a great challenge. And at 40, crap, by the time you turn my age, I'm 58. I mean, you could be like 30 books. Like you could be like the all-time hold the record.
That would be so
And there's
cool.
tons of stuff to write about. I mean, the thing is that there's just, if you're paying attention in the world and you're doing all these podcasts, you're talking to people.
Exactly.
It just comes up and you're like, okay, well, that's another thing to talk about.
Yeah, you can follow your curiosity in certain trends and just be with the people. Be with the people, and the answers will come. And I just find, and I love it, and I love your energy. I love the start of this already. I'm so happy. That's
exactly what you do. You just pay attention to what's happening, and then having a good publisher like the AI Edge. Shannon Vargo at Wiley called me. I was in San Antonio and in the airport. I remember it because I picked up the phone with her, and she goes, "Look, we really think we need to write an AI sales book, and we want you to do it. Will you do it?" And I wasn't thinking about doing that book. I was thinking about something completely different. Selling the price increase. When inflation hit and every business was trying to raise their prices. And I'd argue it's the Bible of selling price increases. Would have never considered doing that, except for a client came to me and said, "Look, we need help selling price increases, and can you build a training program for us?" And so I started building the training program for them over December, and was like, "Well, screw this. I'm just going to write the book."
You've seen the need coming.
It comes to you, and you gotta. And I think that's part of like the universe is being aware of the things that are out there. I think so many people get so closed out that you're not looking and hearing and seeing what's around you. And when you see something that's cool, pay attention to it, because it's probably God, the universe, whatever, a higher spirit you worship, is probably something talking to you, telling you that you need to pay attention to that and do something with it.
That intuition. But you're right.
Yeah.
Just the total awareness and presence to what's around, what's in front of you, what's coming at you, because it's right there. You just have to grab it. Yeah. I love this.
That's exactly right. And I'll tell you the best story about that. I wrote an international blockbuster in 2020 that was the best-selling book that year for my publisher. I was one of the few authors that actually sold more books that year than they sold the previous year. It was all because of this book. But it was March 15th. It was the day after we shut the country down for COVID in the U.S. I'm in the shower. My brain says, we need to write a book called Virtual Selling. We need to get done right now.
Yes.
Right? That's what it says. So I was getting out of the shower, and I remembered the famous quote from the guy who started Atari, and I can't remember his name, but there's a famous quote where he says, "Everybody's got the greatest ideas in the world in the shower," and I'm paraphrasing. Almost nobody does anything with it after they step out of the shower. And I remembered that, and I'm like, you're not going to be that person. So I dried off and went downstairs, picked up the phone, called Shannon,
And said,
at my publisher and said, look, I got this idea, except for this is going to blow your mind. We need to get the book on the street in 60 days. Because at the time I thought
whoa,
COVID would be over in like 90 days.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and that's not, publishers don't do that. Publishers are like,
right.
you know, a
Like a
year
year
out, 2
out.
years out on a book.
Yeah.
And she went, I love it. Great idea. Having the right person in your world. Like she was the right person who could see the vision. And like we shut down and wrote that book and got it out, and it just went bonkers. But it was all that, like, you got to pay attention to that and do something. Right?
That
If you
moment.
don't do something about it, all it is an idea.
That moment. And
Yeah.
shower moment. And you just, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every day that you didn't do something, it almost dilutes, right?
Yeah,
The
it does.
intensity of that idea,
It goes
and you
away.
can't
Like
get
the
it back.
energy for that goes away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nah, that's so cool. Right. You've lit me up. You've lit me up, Jeb. I'm going for 30. 30 by, what is it, 58?
I
Is
like
that it? Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. 30 by 58. You could do that. I mean, that's what you've written 5, you're 40, 10 a year. I mean, one a year.
You
Yeah.
have to pick it
Yeah.
up a little bit.
You'd be close. You might be 63 and you'll get 30.
Yeah. This year's been good. I'm on the deadline at the end of October for my next one, which comes out in June next year. So I've done 2
good.
this year so far, but I mean, now I've got your 90-day negotiation idea. So that's parked in my head. I'm like, oh goodness, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
By
we can
then,
get
man,
that
you'll be
one
so
done by
badass.
Christmas. Yeah.
People be throwing money at you.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you again for coming on. I mean, I'm looking forward to getting into this.
I thought we were already into. I just hijacked your entire show. I'm so sorry.
Let's do it. Let's roll into it then. Yeah. Well, I'm absolutely thrilled to have you on. I've been pumped all day waiting for this. I know we've had this in the diary for a fair bit, actually. And you are the founder, obviously, of Sales Gravy. You're a global training powerhouse. Like, you are sales. Like, to me, you are sales, right? You are
so
guidance.
nice.
And now we've established 18 books, right? Prolific author and someone that's inspiring me to go for 30 by 58. So this is a challenge. You've thrown down the gauntlet, and I love that, because I know that you've transformed thousands upon thousands of salespeople's lives. Like, your books, I've obviously got them here behind me. They've been an integral part. What I love about you is you don't just talk theory, right? You talk strategy. And you also talk about the things, the foundational levels, like trust building, EQ, like the things that are really important, but I don't think enough time has been spent on. And so I'm looking forward to diving into LinkedIn Edge, AI Edge, fanatical prospecting, sales EQ, like all of it. But from the perspective of, look, we are in this massive amount of change right now. That's what I would say. Like, you know, that, like, you're in the world, like, you know this. It's the velocity of change and disruption is absolutely incredible right now. But how do we stay human in this AI-driven sales world that we've got going on right now? That'll be my first kind of question to you.
That's a really good question. So, probably the easiest, fastest way to remain human is to remember that the more people you talk with, the more you're going to sell. And what that tells us is that sales is just talking with people. Like, that's all it is. And the more we talk with each other, the more we are able to be human. I think and I think this goes beyond sales. I think this is the dehumanization of society as a whole, is that we have a tendency to live inside of AI, or we live inside of laptops and computers and social media, and we keep human relationships at arm's length. But the more that we're able to just have conversations and discourse with each other, then the more human we become and the more human we remain. So when I think about, like, the AI Edge, for example, that's behind you, that book is all about being human in the age of AI. It is about the fact that salespeople are more important than ever before, not because of our knowledge or our ability to regurgitate facts and figures, because I can hop on my AI and in 10 seconds, I can learn just about anything I want to. Now, I don't get context, I get information. But the thing is that as long as human beings are making decisions, then we're going to have fears about those decisions, because from the beginning of time, this is just how we're built. Anytime we have to make any type of decision, it carries risk, and human beings avoid risk at all costs. So it helps to have other human beings to guide us and help us. to make us feel good about those decisions and to become consultants to help us see the context inside of all the facts. So this is where salespeople become super important. Now, are there going to be situations where robots are buying from robots? Yeah. Are there going to be situations where we can buy things without human beings? Yeah. And by the way, that's been evolving since the early 1900s. I mean, we have been slowly but surely moving away from products that we trust and that are transactional, that we don't need a human being to get in the way of, to more human conversations. But to just emphasize how important the human conversation is in sales, let's just take a look at one of the best AI cases out there. This case was in all the news, was in all of the business publications, and this was that you were going to have AI on the drive-through windows of fast food restaurants. So you would go to a McDonald's drive-through, the robot would say, hello, how are you doing this morning? And then you would tell them what you wanted, and then you would go pick it up. What did Taco Bell just do? It just killed that program. And it killed the program because nobody likes it. It killed the program because the robot can take an order, but it can't be a human being. And it didn't get this widespread pickup that they were expecting. If you dial back, just go back 3 years ago, the prediction was that all of the fast food window people would be gone because AI would do all the work. It's not doing all the work. Now, that's a purely transactional product, but we're still, you get up in the morning, like, I get up and when I'm traveling, at least, I'm a big fan of McDonald's breakfast. I like my Egg McMuffin and my little hash brown. And I go in and I go to the drive-through thing, and there's a person that answers the phone. They go say good morning. I say good morning, and we have a conversation. We meet at the window. We smile for a second. I get my food. I walk away. I had a good human-to-human experience to start my day off. That would be completely gone and different, and the fabric of that would be different if I was just dealing with a robot and a robot hand reached out the window and handed me my food. Now, I'm not predicting that that's not going to happen. It might. But what I'm saying is that the human connection is so important that it didn't work. It was the perfect application. It just didn't work because people don't like talking to robots. And I, maybe that'll change in the world, but it's just the truth. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't like, I sit on my AI yesterday. I was on AI and we were working on a article for the 10 reasons why you should go to the Outbound conference in Las Vegas. So that was a great application for AI. So we pumped in like several blog articles that we'd already written on the Outbound conference. We put it into Claude, and I had my content editor who is in my marketing team with me. And I said, let's just knock this out really quickly. So she popped it in there and it gave us 10 reasons. 2 of the reasons were really stupid things that it made up. We went back in and edited it and got it done, but it took us 30 minutes. Now, it would have probably taken us 3 hours to do that. We were talking to the AI. And what she said was, because she was struggling with it, I gave it a prompt. She goes, oh, I like that prompt you used. I'm like, we're just telling the robot to give us information. But we were side by side in a room working on it together, smiling, talking, laughing at the robot, having a good time. It was a great day. We had our whole team together. We were working on those things. It was the talking and the being together and working on things that made it human. The robot was just a machine. It was technology that helped us do that one thing faster so we could do 3 other things. That to me is what makes in the age of AI, or what keeps us human in the age of AI, is not forgetting that we are human.
Right. So it's not outsourcing everything to the robots. It's keeping the connection and the collaboration. Like, because that's the thing, like, even when you call Amex, like, it used to be that you call American Express and a person picks up as quick as possible and you get straight in there. Now you call and it is a robot, and it is actually quite frustrating, especially when you've got one of the premium cards and you're like, hey, I could easily move my business elsewhere because I just hate this robot. Like, what do you think could go wrong with this from a salesperson's perspective?
So I think personally that I'm going to answer the question on the what can go wrong from the salesperson standpoint, because there's a lot that can go wrong, and I'm going to give you a brilliant example of it that just happened to me last week. But on the Amex side, the marketplace is going to fix this problem, because the robot is either going to get really good at you call in, you've got a particular question that you need answered, and you can ask the robot, and the robot can solve that problem really quickly for you. An example was I was at a really high-end hotel. I called Zero. I got a robot. I knew it was a robot. It was a very nice, I mean, it was speaking like a person, but you knew it was a robot. I needed to know where the gym was in the hotel. So I said, where's the gym in the hotel? And it said, you go here, go here, go here. And I hung up the phone. That was fine. I didn't feel like I missed anything by that. But what you're talking about is that circular, frustrating, just like vortex you go into where you're trying to ask a question and the stupid robot doesn't understand context and will run you in that circle enough times where you're ready to throw the phone at the wall versus recognizing immediately, I don't have the capacity to answer this question, and you're handed off to a human being almost instantly. That's where I think the marketplace is going to solve this problem, because I think there's going to be a pendulum swing back to human customer service. And I think there's, and I do believe it'll be a blend, but I think there's going to be a swing back. And we're already seeing that in a lot of cases. Like, for example, even my team, I don't have robots that answer our chat. We tried to have robots answer chat. We watched what happened. People were running around in circles. We're like, not doing that anymore. So if during our business hours, if you chat on Sales Gravy or on Sales Gravy University or on Outbound Conference, you're going to get a human being. There are people on my team right now that are on chat, and they'll deal with you, and they'll move you to a phone call and talk to you. And the number one question people ask us when they come in a chat, am I talking to a robot or a human? They want to know. Like, they're interested in that. So I think that'll change. Now, if we go back to salespeople, like, what are the things that salespeople can make a mistake with AI? One is AIing it in. So this happened to me last week. I get an email from a salesperson who I know is a real salesperson, who I've been talking to, who used a robot to write the email, and I knew he was faking it. Like, I knew it because it had all the telltale signs of a robot, right? I mean, it was like so blatantly obvious, and he immediately lost all his credibility with me. It hurt my feelings that he didn't, I mean, I wasn't walking around crying or anything, but I mean, instantly I was like, this kid didn't even care enough to even try to write this thing. He just did a copy paste from ChatGPT, and I actually knew it was from ChatGPT because I know those patterns. And I was like, this is really bad. Now, I got him on the phone, young guy, 26 years old, starting a sales career. I sat down with him and said, are you open to some coaching? He goes, yeah. I said, don't ever do that again. I said, that was just really bad behavior because you didn't even try. And the thing about buying from someone is you want to know that they at least care enough to want to work for your business. So salespeople can make that mistake very, very easily. Whenever you're writing anything, right, you got to go back and humanize what you wrote. Can ChatGPT write it fast? Yes. Can you plug frameworks in there? Can they help you? Yes. It can do those things for you. It can give you like so much more time in your day. But if you don't humanize it, it's a problem. And it's the same thing for like meeting transcripts. If you don't go back and read the summary that the robot wrote, you are committing sales malpractice. So look at a real world example. So we use these meeting summaries, and people love them, and they know that a robot's generating them. Like, we're not hiding that fact, but they love the fact that we have a sales call, we have a sales meeting, and then like 30 minutes later, they'll get an email and it'll say, here's a summary of our meeting. Here's the things we agreed to. And they'll write back and say, this is so professional. We really appreciate that. You couldn't have done that before AI because you would have spent 3 hours trying to go through and build all that. And today you can do it in an instant. But we always go back and read them and then correct things before we send them. And in one situation, I was on a call and I was waiting for my client to show up, and we had a team of people there. And I was having a conversation with my CFO about something on our P&L. The robot recorded all of that. And then it didn't understand that I was in two different conversations. So when it sent the summary in, it wove the conversation I was having with my CFO about our internal P&L and our business into the summary. Had you not read it, like, you would have a couple of things we didn't want people to know. Like, it wasn't things we wanted to tell people, but the rest of it was just gibberish. Like, it made, like, there was no continuity. It made no sense. And that's what robots do. So massive mistake for salespeople to AI it in. Always read what AI does and never trust it. That blog article, 10 reasons why you need to go to outbound. Two of the reasons were just completely made up. They were far-fetched. They were like telling people they were going to get things at our conference that we don't offer. The robot just made that up. If you just copy paste that, now you've lied to somebody. If you've got the robot building a proposal for you, you better go back and read it, because robots will lie to you. They will plagiarize. They will make stuff up, and everybody's talking about how they're going to fix hallucinations. They're not, because the robot is a machine that has a goal. You give it a goal, it's going to solve that problem. Come hell or high water, it's going to solve it. Whether it's got to make the stuff up to give you an answer, or whether it finds a legitimate answer, that's what it's going to do. So always, never trust, always verify. That's what you have to do as a salesperson, but that's what's going to kill you as a salesperson. And then I'd add one more thing to this, Tim, and that is, it's a sad thing that I'm seeing, experiencing. How's your son?
I've got an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Okay, so 8 and 4. So you're going to face this problem. If you can tell AI what you want it to write, or you can tell AI what math problem you want it to solve, or like my son, he's on my marketing team, and he's building websites and tools. He's vibe coding, which is amazing. Like I was working on a website the other day going, I can code. And I was using the AI to help me code, and it was solving problems for me fast. Because something wasn't working, I would just put it in there and it would tell me what the problem was. Before, it would have taken me longer to do that. Well, I know how to code. So when I'm working with AI, I know the ABCs. So if I see something, I can go in and very quickly change what I want, so I can augment it. My son, who doesn't really know how to code, who's using AI to code, when we had a problem yesterday, he and I were sitting side by side, and he's doing brilliant work. There was just a small problem that it was a string of numbers that was leading us to the wrong form. He's like, well, I'm gonna have to go back and put this back in Gemini and get Gemini to figure it out. And I'm like, just open the code up and take a look at it. This should be easy.
Mm-hmm.
So we start troubleshooting, and and I'm going through the process, and I just find it took, 10 seconds. We found it. Because he's counting on the robot to do everything for him, his brain's not thinking critically, how do I troubleshoot, solve problems? How do I find these things? Your kids, if AI is doing all the writing for them, or doing all the math for them, or doing all the thinking for them, at what point do they lose their creativity? What point do they lose their curiosity? What point do they lose their ability to work without an AI if the AI went away? Let me give you another example of that. I'm doing a training class. This is young kids. These are 24, 25-year-olds. One of my longest running clients. I train all their new salespeople. It's a week-long class. People come from all over the country, but these two cats were driving together to our location from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So it's about a 4-hour drive to where we were. And they were late. They came into the room, and this company is it's a disciplined company, punctual. So they were in trouble because they were late. And the person who is in charge of all of this, who hires me, looked at them and said, what happened to you? And they go, well, we were in a place where our phones weren't working, and we got a little bit lost. And we couldn't figure out how to get here. And this person's a Gen Xer like me, says, why don't you stop and get a map? And they're like, what's a map? They didn't know. All they count on is their phone to get them there. So imagine that, how our population, if suddenly phones were like turned off, how would people get from one place to the other if they've never learned how to read a map? Just saying. So I think that's a major issue for not only salespeople, but society, is if we don't understand that AI is a helper and it replaces our brain, at what point does our brain atrophy so much that we can no longer think critically and really be the human beings, the creative human beings that we were meant to be?
Jeb, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. And some of the words that you're saying are standing out to me so much, like the curiosity, the creativity, the discipline, right? We've got to have the discipline, the accountability, be the filter, right? And this is all
Yes.
lending itself to the salesperson, the foundational building blocks. But what you're saying here is if that bit is skipped when the AI goes wrong or it hallucinates or it's broken, then how do you get to your customers? And you haven't
Right.
built those muscles.
Exactly. And how
So
do you even know? I mean, at what point do
right.
you not even know that the robot lied to you?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah, because you wouldn't like you checking the code, you wouldn't be able to check the
Yeah.
code. Therefore, you'd have to go again. And then if the AI
Yes.
lied to you again,
Yeah,
you don't pick it up.
exactly.
It's like
Exactly.
oh my
And I
goodness.
say this all the time. Like I'm working with my AI all the time. If you were to like watch me have this conversation with my AI, I go, "You're lying to me." I'll just write, "You're lying to me," and it'll think for a second and go, "Yeah, you're right. Let me go back and take another look at that."
I'm sorry, Jeb. I'm sorry. You've caught me, or is it?
It did. I had the other day ago. I had to teach the AI that it was wrong. Like I had to give it the source material, like link to this, link to this, link to this, link to this. Go look at those things and now come back and tell me I'm wrong. And went out and looked at them and it came back and said, I I throw myself at your mercy. I was wrong. But if you don't know to do that, what happens? So I think those are the biggest issues, and those that it goes beyond sales, but those are the problems. Now the other side of this problem, by the way, for salespeople is you're not using it. So if you choose not to use it, that's a massive problem for you in a world where you're going to be at a massive disadvantage to the salespeople who are using it and learning how to use it very well.
Yeah. And it's a bit like what you're saying about being a writer. Like you're in the state of flow, you're producing books, and at the same time, it's taking your time and your focus off of other projects. It's like
Yes.
you've got to do it, and you love doing
Yes.
it, but at the same time, you've got to prioritize other things. You've got to find the right balance. It's a hybrid approach. But this is leading me towards the word that we know all about, which is authenticity. What is, I mean, in the word of damaging your authenticity, if you're sending out templated emails with all those
Yes.
exclamation marks and the structure that we know is literally just and the quotation marks still in there from ChatGPT. Like, what's your definition of authenticity?
It's it's making human mistakes these days. If you'd asked me this 5 years ago, to give me a different thing, but a different question. But I had a CEO friend of mine the other day said, I got this email from a salesperson and he says, I was so excited. He said, I responded. He said, I don't respond to any emails anymore but I could tell it was written by a real person because it was so bad. He said the grammar was bad. He said the sentence structure was bad. He goes, but it was like a real person actually wrote the message and I felt compelled to respond. So authenticity is being a human. And I know that, like, how do you explain what that looks like? But we're not perfect. We're
Mm.
fallible. We're not hype machines. Like I just like, all AI basically these days is like Flava Flav without the clock. I mean, it hypes you up and tells you how great you are. That's how I knew that kid had written that thing on ChatGPT because it told me how great I was. The email, love what you're doing over there at Sells Gravy Sell More. Like, I know you're a robot. You wrote this thing. So, um, it is bringing yourself and all of your flaws into the conversation. It is bringing your complexity into the conversation. And we have to always be careful because a lot of salespeople think, well, authenticity is just being me. Yeah, to an extent, but but authenticity without respect for your audience is arrogance. So just because you're in San Francisco and you wear a stained hoodie to work every single day and go dude and bro, but if you're calling a 58-year-old businessman in Des Moines, Iowa, that might be who you are, but to approach that person in that way is pure arrogance because you're saying, I have no respect for you. You have to be me. So as salespeople, our job is to be the chameleon, right? Our job is to flex to the communication style of the person that we're working with. Our job is to feel familiar to them or to feel similar to them so that they trust us. Um, so it's not be yourself, it's be human. And human is having the ability to have empathy. It is the ability to stop for a second and just view the world through someone else's eyes. It is looking at their pain through their lens. It is the willingness to make a mistake and just, and screw things up from time to time. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's also the humanity to say, I'm sorry, I messed that up. Like even on this podcast, y'all are listening. I'm screw my words up all the time. I'm not the most eloquent speaker that there ever was. I make all these stupid mistakes. And I spent a lot of my career, the early part of my career, trying to perfect myself on stage. I give keynotes. I'm on the road 300 days a year, and I get paid a lot of money to give keynotes. And I try to make it like perfect because I saw other speakers perfect. And one day, someone came up to me and said, "I just love when I see you on stage because it feels like you're just talking to me." And I go, "Well, I make all these mistakes," and they go, "I know, but like I can see myself in you. Like I see yourself there." And I was like, "Oh, I get it. Like I am not trying to be something else. I'm doing my best. I'm respecting my audience. If they're all wearing suits, I'm going to wear a suit.
Mhm.
I learn their language. I make sure that I'm doing my best to connect with them, but I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. Like I'm not trying to fake it." So I'm talking all over this subject because it's such a hard thing like to describe authenticity, but I think that's it. And I think it's just bringing your humanity into conversations and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, um,
Mhm.
and be real. And maybe if we think about this from a pure, like, the character of a salesperson, I see a lot of salespeople who are the nicest people in the world in a training room, or you meet them in the break room, or you're having a conversation with them, and then they get on the telephone, or they get on a video call, or they get out in the street, and they put their sales hat on, and they turn into a completely different person, fake and plastic, and going through their scripts and doing all of those things. So they're not really connecting with the other person. That is the definitions of inauthentic. Whereas you got salespeople who are out there and they're themselves and they are authentic, but those salespeople also remember that authenticity without respect for the audience is arrogant. So they respect the person they're dealing with. They shift the way that they're talking to that person. And I think you'd probably you're a negotiation expert, so you would see this in a negotiation table, that if I want to get the other person to come over to my side of the table, one of the easiest ways is to have them see me as a collaborative person versus a confrontational person. And if they feel like I'm speaking their language or stepping in their shoes, or they feel like I'm being authentic about my demands and that I'm not being unreasonable, they're much more likely to at least try to see my point of view versus to discount it altogether.
Oh, exactly, exactly. And I love how you've framed this up. Like it's about being human whilst respecting the context of the other
Yeah.
person's situation. That respect's there, and you're applying yourself like this chameleon. I really like that. Not just saying I can do anything I want because that's authenticity. There's
Yeah.
still a really high standard on what you're doing. What I'm seeing a lot of now, Jeb, is, and I think this speaks to your book, Linked to Edge, or I'm sure it will do, but I get spammed, as I'm sure you do, a ton every day on LinkedIn, a lot, and I'm sure it's bots, but like, how can a salesperson actually leverage LinkedIn? Because we get given premium access and LinkedIn tools to the hilt, but I don't necessarily think we get trained on how to use it. What tips do you have to simulate someone actually going around, instead of knocking on doors, they're knocking on doors through LinkedIn and they're actually
Yeah.
working?
So I'm just want to say first, to you and the audience, I'm so grateful for you loading up the gratuitous book plug. Appreciate that. So so yeah, there's a lot of bots on LinkedIn. It is a I think LinkedIn's done, they're trying to fix it. I can see that they're trying to fix it, so I want to give them credit for that. But you can tell the people who comment on something that you post, they have this little comment, and then there's always a question behind the comment. Like that is a pure robot move. Like they put it in there and it does that. And we talk about this in the book, and stop doing that. Like it's so bad. It shows that you didn't even try. And that may not be a bot actually doing it. It could be the person going, you can put you can put a prompt into LinkedIn. I want to comment on this. How do I do that? And the bot because it's a hype machine, does this and then says ask a question because somebody who programmed the bot thought it was a good idea. Now, one of the things we do show in the book is like how to repost, and I'll give you a bunch of prompts in here. So there's a lot of AI in here in terms of like you wrote something really good, and I want to comment on it, and I want to get your attention. So I want you to see that I see you. So I wrote a prompt in here on how to comment on something without stealing your thunder, but using my own authentic voice to do that. And again, it'll say in here over and over again in the book, it says, read it before you post it, because the bot's going to do those things. So in ways that we can use AI to speed up our time on LinkedIn, but still make an impact. But your question about like how salespeople can make use LinkedIn. So this book is a prospecting book, The LinkedIn Edge. It's purely a how do I fill up the top end funnel. There's parts and pieces of this book that you can apply to different parts of the sales process, including negotiation. But primarily, it is focused on how do I open those doors and open the doors with the right people. And the book focuses on two types of prospecting: fast prospecting and slow prospecting. So fast prospecting is what fanatical prospecting is, right? It is interrupt, engage, and convert. So I've identified someone I want to talk to. I'm gonna knock down their door. I'm gonna convert them into a pipeline opportunity and move on. And it's what the majority of salespeople are doing is fast prospecting. And we do that because you've got a pipeline problem every single day. If you don't put something into your pipeline, you are going to fail. That's a fact. And in fact, the book starts off with the number one reason for failure in sales is an empty pipeline. And the number one reason why you have an empty pipeline is you are not prospecting every single day. That's a truth. And if you think about most LinkedIn books, like most social selling books, most social selling books are all about you don't have to do these things anymore. You just hang out on LinkedIn and people are going to come to you and you're going to get rich and everything's going to be great. And you're going to be like, everything's going to go viral. This book does not do that. This is a prospecting book. So fast prospecting is, I need to fill it up now. We show you how to do this with LinkedIn. So my co-author on this book, Brent Tillman, the LinkedIn Whisperer, she and I are like on opposite sides. I'm the fanatical prospector. She's the social seller. And, we came together and brought those two disciplines together because at the intersection of fast and slow, you can make a lot of money. Now, slow prospecting is the systematic sequencing of actions pointed at an ideal customer profile or identified target. So we begin with, you got a target, people I want to target, where I'm over time building a relationship, building my case. I'm connecting with them. I'm creating familiarity. And I'll get back to familiarity in just a moment because it's so important in sales. And I talk about that in fanatical prospecting as well. But I'm going through this systematic process, not just, pray and spray or spray and pray. I'm not just showing up every once in a while. I'm doing these specific things. And it's not just like, what do you post? When do you post? When will it go viral? It is much more dialed into how are you targeting the right people? How do we understand what their roles in organizations? How do we understand social proximity so we know that this person here can get you to this person over here through this person over here? So how do we actually use networking to get there? And how do you use things like your profile to be authentic, but also to generate inbound leads? Because if we really think about what LinkedIn is, it's a massive search engine. And by the way, the robots are searching it too. I did something the other day ago and put it in there, and it was giving me answers that came out of LinkedIn. It was something that I was looking for, something that I wrote but couldn't find. So I just typed it into a robot, and it was finding my post from LinkedIn and spitting them back to me, which is very helpful. Right. So we teach you how to set everything you do up on LinkedIn for search so that people can find you. So if they're looking for something, you can create an inbound lead. That's part of the slow prospecting canon. So fast and slow prospecting and doing both of those things at the same time versus, hey, only do these things. Like I'll hear leaders say, I don't want my salespeople on LinkedIn because it's a waste of time. And for them, that's the truth because their salespeople waste time on LinkedIn. You've got other people going, cold calling's bad. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to prospect traditionally anymore. Only spend time on LinkedIn. And then they're suffering because they get empty pipelines because it's a slow, deliberate, long-term process for building out those relationships. do them both together, and like you get an explosion of productivity, and you get all your activity focused in the right places. So inside the book, what we're showing you is a complete system that combines AI with data tools like Zoom Info, with cold calling, with traditional networking, like you're meeting people at a trade show, and you've got this massive business platform that spans the globe. How do you use it better to improve your chances that people find you and they're familiar with you? And familiarity, I told you I was going to come back to this, matters so much, because the more familiar people are with you, the more likely that when they actually have a need for what you do, they'll find you, they'll call you. And when you do outreach to connect with them, the more likely they're going to engage. So whether you're asking them for a referral, asking them for information, or asking them for a meeting, if they know who you are and they're familiar with your face and your name and your authenticity, then they're more likely to bring you in. And so much of what we do on LinkedIn is around creating that level of familiarity, which in fanatical prospecting, we talk about it in terms of all the touches that you make in a prospecting sequence creates that familiarity. But on LinkedIn, we can do this in a much more holistic way that, again, we're back to win probability, improves the probability that when we do engage, right, when we call you, you engage back, or when you need something, you seek us out first.
I think that's really important. Like you're basically building leverage into both sides of the equation.
Yes.
Like this is super cool, Jeb. Like this is, as you say, pipe is life, and that is the number one problem, right? And you're
Yes.
telling us how to. I feel like this is basically a masterclass in like how to do the rare things, how to do the rare things. Like if you do take LinkedIn and you become a master of it, you're suddenly, like you said, I'd love to double tap on that familiarity piece. Like how specific should we go? Like, is it, so take me, for example, is it just negotiation expert? Is it negotiation expert author? Is it negotiation expert sales pro? Like what do people need to think of when they think of Tim Castle? Like how specific, or is it just, here's my face again, here's my face again, and they're familiar because they seem.
You're going to have both of those things. So I would start with the first. Like think about it like this. By the way, the first chapter in this book is called "The Pipe Is Life." So funny.
Nice.
So think about a movie star. The very first time you saw him, like you know, if you think like, let's take Brad Pitt, and he's just from my generation, right? But Brad Pitt was in like commercials and stuff. Like, you know, there was a guy the other day ago, I saw his face and I remembered he was in like he was in this movie as a kid. But if you think about the very first time you saw them, their face, I mean, you didn't like really know them. You weren't like connected to them in any way. Maybe they were good, but then you saw them again in another movie or another TV show and they get a little bit better. And then again in something else. And then pretty soon, like no matter what they're in, no matter what movie they're in, you want to see them. If you saw them in public, you'd be like, I'm your biggest fan. Can I take a selfie with you? Like, because you've seen them so much and you've experienced them so much. And yeah, maybe they've got a particular genre that they're focusing on, like they're an action hero, what have you. But it began with, you saw their face, you heard their voice, you saw how they acted, how they responded, and you fell in love with them. But it was the repeated exposure to them over and over and over again that created this level of familiarity that caused you to be able to cross over that familiarity threshold, right? So there was this threshold that you moved from, I know who you are, to, I really like you. Like you seem like someone I would want to talk to. And I'll give you an example from my own life. And I feel like I've after being this company Sales Gravy, we started 18 years ago. But I feel like with me, like I've begun to cross that threshold on a much more broad level, because it used to be unusual that someone would recognize me. It is normal for me to be walking through an airport and people will go, "Hey, are you Jeb?" I was in Dallas 3 weeks ago walking through the D terminal, and two guys had just gotten off an airplane from Sydney, and we're walking along, and we're like, "Jeb!" And I'd stopped and went and said hello to him. I've never met him before in my life. And like, "Oh, we love you, man. We read your books. We've seen your videos." I walk into rooms and people are like, it's almost like I know you because I see your videos all the time. Or, listen to your podcast. I hear your voice. So in doing that, maybe it sells or what have you, but there's this level where my face has become familiar enough that people feel like they've got to stop and talk to me, that they want to I mean, it's just, to me, just bizarre that people want to stop and take a selfie with me and take it home to show people. But I'm in airports and they're taking selfies and sending them to people. And, and that, I think, is, that's what like begins to change the way people feel about you. So you want to know that. Now, do you want to be thought as of an expert? Do people want to see you as someone that can solve their problems? Absolutely. So while you're building that level of familiarity, you're also building your expertise. So you're saying, I'm the person that people come to when they've got a negotiation problem, or I'm the person they come to when they've got a prospecting problem. So Fanatical Prospecting, that book behind you, between audiobooks, digital, and hardcover across the globe, sold about 1.5 million copies. So it's everywhere. And that's what people know me for. And they know me for that way more than they know me for the AI edge, right? And I will always be known for Fanatical Prospecting, which is not a bad thing, right? Because people got to fix that, but that's what I'm known for. So, and sometimes, like, as an author, I'm like, yeah, but did you read my other books? Because like I read your book. But what about, I didn't even know you wrote other books. I'm like, what do you mean I didn't write other books? I wrote 17 books, so, but that's, so now people know me for that, and they see me as that particular expert. So they're calling me for those things. And those things have to be in parallel. You could be the greatest expert in the world, but if people aren't familiar with you, if they haven't crossed that familiarity threshold, then you've got a problem. There's another concept that we explore in the book. It's called peak familiarity. And for salespeople, this matters greatly, because imagine that you're on a flight. So you're on an airplane with someone, you're sitting next to them, and you have a great conversation. And it turns out that they're in your ICP, your ideal customer profile, target profile. They're in that profile, and you're like, we should get together sometime. And they go, yeah, we should get together sometime. Or you're at a trade show, or you're on a train, or you're at a networking event, or maybe you're on LinkedIn and you're talking to each other back and forth, however it is. But there's a moment when human beings have this peak familiarity. In other words, we just met each other. And even though we didn't go through the process of like showing our face over and over and over again, in that moment, we know each other. And you know what I'm talking about, because we do this all the time. We could be on a cruise ship, and in that moment, we know each other. Don't let that moment slip. You have a small amount of time where that familiarity peak is going to be at its height. And at that moment, that's when you want to dive into, okay, make the connection on LinkedIn. Send them a note, send them a text, handwritten note. Go back to them, pay attention to them, use that peak familiarity to pull them into your world. Then once they're connected with you on LinkedIn, then they'll start seeing the things that you're posting and sharing and talking about. You'll be able to go back and talk to them. And now you can take that peak familiarity and you can move it here, right? And now you're pulling people into your world. And the thing about sales, business, everything else is that in that moment, that might not be the moment where everybody's ready to do business. But because you can build on that and build on that and build on that on LinkedIn, over time, you're creating that you're crossing that familiarity threshold. And when they need something, when people are cross that threshold, when they need something, they're calling you. People who know me, when they need help with prospecting or sales or consulting, who know me, they're calling me. They're not calling somebody they don't know. They're calling me. And that's where LinkedIn really comes into play. And we use there's a format in the book called the 5 S's, which helps with this process. And I'll run them through here with you real quickly. So, because I want to make sure that I get them all right as I go through here. But the 5 S's are really focused on creating authority, and it's on like building out this familiarity. So we start with streaming. So streaming is, you think about LinkedIn, for example, like Netflix. There's a billion, I don't know how many people are on LinkedIn, but let's say there's a billion people on LinkedIn, 400 million, whatever. But there's 400 million channels on LinkedIn. One of them is the Tim Castle channel, right? So you're LinkedIn, you're putting things every day. What you want to do is you want to show up in the stream of the people that you want to become familiar with you. So if we go all the way back to building our network and being intentional about that and how we collect the people in our network that we want or get people to follow us that they want, now we've got to show up in their stream, and we need to be able to get them to see our stuff. And then we want it to be good enough and relevant enough for them that they keep tuning into that channel, which is exactly what you and I do, because we're authors. That matters because, you know, we're trying to sell not only consulting and training, our ideas. People are buying our time. That matters. So, and we're building authority through that stream. And by the way, that goes back to your question. If people see you as a person of authority or as an expert, then they're going to be more likely to want to work with you. So when we think about that, we think about sharing, right? So what are you sharing out there? So if I wanted to coast or maybe just surf on your authority, I would go to your stream, find your channel, find what you're posting, and then find ways to share what you're posting or comment on what you're posting in a way that connects with you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And connects with my audience, right? And then I want to make sure that I'm commenting on those things in a way that causes you to see me. So if I'm trying to target a particular client, I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to those things. Now, you also, and this is important because search is one of those things. We talked about it being a search. That's one of the 5 S's. And then there's the scroll, right? And this is the hard part. Like, this is the part that gets real sexy and everybody wants to talk about is, what am I doing on LinkedIn to stop people from scrolling? You know what I'm talking about? You're seeing these kids that just go up and up and up. What can I do to stop them and get them to pay attention to me? You worry about this all the time because your world is this. I worry about this all the time because my world is this. And we know when we do it really well, when we've got the right podcast episode, or the right video, or the right post where people stop. We get that. Well, if you're the everyday salesperson, and let's say that your target market is construction managers, people who work on construction sites, commercial construction managers. If you build a network of those people, you've got to be thinking, what are the things that I'm going to post that gets into their stream, that stops them from scrolling over me, that then pulls them in, causes them to see my face, see my name, see my content, see me as an expert, right? And then seek me out, search when they need me. So everything that we're doing on LinkedIn is using these 5 S's, whether it's getting into the stream, making sure that we're posting on a regular basis, sharing things, we're stopping the scroll, we are we're in search so they can find us. All of these things in a systematic, methodical way, all focused on one thing, put new opportunities in the pipeline. And for all the leaders out there, it's about doing this in a way that you fit into your sales day without taking you away from all the other stuff that you have to do. That was just a stream of consciousness.
It's a mic drop moment. That is a mic drop moment, man. That is vital. I think that's vital. Like, listeners, you've got to go do something with that right now. You've got to go get a copy of the LinkedIn Edge. Like, that is vital. I think, like, Jeb, I'm sold. I'm getting a copy. I'm going to implement those 5 S's.
Look, this is a badass book. I've been stoked about this book since we wrote it. I mean, there's so much in here, and there's frameworks that you've never seen before, and how to use AI to connect with you, and things you can do in your profile. And I'll be straight with you. When I wrote a lot of the work on the profile in this book from a place where I didn't really understand it. Like, I've got a profile, you got a profile, and then I started like getting deep research into all the things you can do in your profile. It's incredible. Like, it's incredible, all of the media that you can put on the profile, the ability to put videos in your profile on all of the different sections, all of that, not so that you can like show yourself as a massive expert, so that you improve your search engine optimization on LinkedIn so that people find you. Like, I mean, think about this. If you're a buyer out there and you're looking for something, wouldn't it be cool to find the people that can actually do it? Websites do this, businesses do this, marketers do this. You've got a website, I got a website. We spend a lot of time thinking about how people are going to find us. Search engine optimization is a massive industry. Now it's search everywhere optimization. Why doesn't the individual do this? And that's where, from my standpoint, I looked at the profile piece, and I've always looked at it, as what it is. It's your web page on the world. People can see you. I can tell you about me. I never really understood how powerful it can be in search until I'd spent 100 hours just doing nothing but researching how the profile works, and really came back to, I can teach you how to write the greatest things on there, headlines, all those things. The power in this is building it for search. You do that and you're going to be far ahead of everybody else.
Right, there's a massive advantage. That's the edge
Yeah.
piece of this. Like that's
Yeah.
like, wow, Jeb, you've delivered so much value today. You've delivered. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, I've loved going back in time to fanatical prospecting and now to discover your latest work and talk about that. And I love that this is grounded still in discipline and emotional intelligence. And I think the courage to go out there as salespeople, and you're giving people not only the skills, but the tools. Now, how do we use these tools to get into AI search? How do we, this stuff's changing as we began our conversation, right? Rapidly, the velocity of change is happening. And there's a massive way that you can leverage it, but it's got to be done the right way. And I
Yes.
thank you, because you've cleared up so much of those areas that I think are quite murky out there at the moment.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say is to your audience is there are a line of gurus that are out there, and I do this, gurus that are going to tell you that things are dead. Everything's dead, do this. And everybody's going to run to those things. Do not be a sheep. Don't do that. The basics and fundamentals have always worked, and they will continue to work. The more people you talk with, the more you're going to sell. What we're expanding is our ability to talk to people in so many different ways. We're giving the individual a lot more power to be found and to interact and create familiarity that you wouldn't have had before. You've got a powerful business tool that has primarily been used by most people as a place to put your resume. And you can use that tool itself, but pick up the phone, go knock on a door, go to a networking event. When you find people on an airplane, have a conversation with them and give them your business card. And when you're interacting with people on LinkedIn, and there's like video prospecting and, direct message prospecting and lots of techniques we explain on how to do those things. But the most important thing is that you recognize that it's all of those things together, not just one. And probably my best example of this is WhatsApp, which is used by most of the world, but just not people in America very much. But WhatsApp's like the Swiss Army knife of communication, because it literally has every possible way that you could communicate with someone in one shot. And if you learn how to use it the right way, you can move from a phone call to a video call to a text message to a meme to a video message, all of that in one place. LinkedIn is very similar in that aspect, with the exception of you can't make a phone call. So, but if you can get familiar with someone enough, you'll find yourself on the phone talking with them. You can talk with people, you can sell them anything.
Wow. Yes, it's a power packed conversation, this, Jeb. You've packed so much into this, and I've learned so much. This has been an honor for me. This has been an honor for me. I've done this one. I've done this one selfishly for me. I've taken a lot of lessons from this, and I truly thank you for raising the standard of sales globally. Like, it's the work you're doing, and I'm hopefully at 58, I'll be able to say I followed in your footsteps, and we got there with the 30 books. But what is the one action you'd like people to take from this? If there's one thing they do right next after listening to this episode, they're in the shower, they're jumping out, they're writing down an idea, but what's the action you want them to take?
Take action on the idea you write down. So if you heard something and it connected with you and you're like, I need to go do that, just go do that. That one thing, because what most people are going to do is they're going to listen, they're going to hear something that's going to connect. It could be anything over the course of this conversation, and you're going to think that's a really, really good idea. I need to do something with it. And then you're not. And as you and I were talking about in the pre-show, over time, your motivation to do that thing is going to diminish. So the one thing is take action on the one thing that made the most impact on you, and do it right now.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jeb, from the bottom of my heart, for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you.
Today, I want to share something that's incredibly close to my heart. It's this book here in my hands. It's The First Domino. I wrote this to help you expand into new markets, to make the most of your first 90 days, Whether it's a new role that you've started, whether it's a new team that you've taken on, or your company has launched a new product or service, or you're just a founder and you really haven't landed that first major client yet. Imagine this, you're starting a new job and you're sitting down and you're opening up your computer and you've got 43 new Slack messages, a ton of new emails and content that you've got to learn. The pressure's on. Not only that, but you've got to go out and you've got to meet all these new people, these new staff members, these new clients. But most of all, you've got to add value. And whether you acknowledge it or not, you know the pressure is on. You know that this time is precious and that this company has brought you on for a reason. And you're there to prove that reason. That's one of the reasons I wrote this book. It's something that you can read on the weekend and implement on Monday to guide that process so that you can systematize the process of excelling and bring those trusted relationships forward and move the needle on landing your first major client. This book is going to push you to do anything but be comfortable. It's going to help you get breakthroughs. If we tip that first domino, we're going to get a chain reaction of success. That's why I wrote it. It's a playbook to understand the psychology of sales, the intelligence that you need to build leverage into your sales process. And it's for anyone that wants to do business development, growth, or just build their personal brand and take ownership of the direction of their career, their money, and their life. When you land that first domino, that first major client, I want you to post it up and tag me. If you are bold enough to take on the challenge, to really put it into action, to lead with heart, I promise you, you will change your stars. So if you're looking to create a generational legacy and make an impact, this is the first domino, and it only takes one.